Hey guys, so today we are going to discuss these two awesome firearms. As much as some people may say they are different, I think they share more similarities than differences. So today we're talking about the Walther PDP Professional Acro. This here is the full size, and the Sig Sauer 226 X Legion. This has a 4.4 inch barrel. The Pro has a 4.5. And there's a lot of things that are very similar between these two. So if you're in the market for a full-size gun, I really think one of these would be the route that you would be looking. Before we get into this though, I do want to let you know I purchased both of these firearms myself. Neither of these were sent to me. And I actually have dedicated reviews of each. So if you're interested about one of them after this video, feel free to go check it out on the channel. And I will have a whole boatload of information on each one. So to make this very simple, guys, I'm going to break this down into categories. And as we go over each, you're going to realize, some are better in one category than other, and the other may be better in a different category. Ultimately, they're both really, really good guns and just subtle differences. Now, why I decided to compare these two, besides the fact that they're both full size, is arguably, I would say, for their class, they have what I would consider the best triggers possible. So that is how I look at these. And you'll also notice, they both have an X300 and they both have enclosed optics. Now, today, we're not going to talk about these optics. I'm going to do a future comparison on this in probably about 2 weeks. And I also have dedicated reviews on each of these as well. So feel free to check those out if you're interested in either one of these optics. So first, let's talk about size. Honestly, they are roughly the same size. If you don't think about the optics, obviously this one with a magwell and optic will sit a little bit taller. And if you've seen my previous videos, I've had a bit of an issue fitting this into my Condition 1 case here. So this here definitely is a little bit bigger, but it's also lighter. So this being an all metal gun versus this being polymer, the 226 actually, it comes in about 6.5 ounces heavier. Now shooting that, I would not say it's dramatically heavier or feels cumbersome in any way. But when I shoot them back to back, this one here is noticeably lighter. I did weigh both of them fully loaded with a mag as they're kitted out. And yes, these are definitely some larger, heavier guns. I could see some people who would see that weight and say they don't want to carry them. And I respect that. But to each their own. Everyone has their own preference on what they do and do not want to carry. Aside from weight, the other obvious thing is this is striker fired and this is hammer fired. So they both have pros and cons. I'm not going to get into that argument. Everyone out there, if you prefer one or the other, you have your diehard reasons why you love that style, and there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe we'll get into that for another video because I know that is a huge, huge debate. But that aside, that's another big difference between these two. Now, as far as magazines, these both are 18-round magazines. They both came with 3, and coincidentally, both came with Mech-R mags, which personally, I seem to have a lot of good luck with. I've heard some stories before about other people having some issues, but knock on wood, so far, I've had really good luck with Mech-R mags, so I can't say anything bad about them, and I think 18 rounds is a pretty good standard. 15 for a carry is probably as low as I'd comfortably want to go. I think 18 is a pretty good spot to be. There's definitely guns out there that have larger magazines that I'm looking at for the near future. And if you can guess what that is, drop it in the comments below. So off magazines, they're very, very similar. Another big similarity is both of these do come with real metal iron sights. I want to specify that because a lot of PDPs that are not this model don't come with metal iron sights. They come with, they call them the industry standard, aka Glock sights, but these are metal, and they're both night sights. So That is a pretty cool thing, something I look for personally, if you guys have noticed in my taste in pistols. So these both have that. Another really cool thing about both these guns is that they are both cut for an optic and they both can direct mount. I personally prefer if you can direct mount because one, if you have an optics plate, it's another potential point of failure. And two, you also can run into that issue where you might not be able to co-witness your iron sights. And for me personally, I don't shoot competition, so most of my guns become part of my carry rotation. So being able to have something that co-witnesses just in case the optic fails, that's kind of critical for me. So they both have that. Now, this is where it's going to come down to where they start getting a little bit different. So let's talk about how they feel in the hand. Now, for reference, I do wear a size large in mechanics gloves, and I will say the PDP Pro, it fits so good in my hand. Honestly, I really did not expect that when I first looked at these guns online, because I bought this sight unseen. I expected that grip to be really chunky, really thick. I don't know what it was about the pictures, but it did not look like it would feel as comfortable as it is. I will say, of most of the recent guns I've shot, this one fits in my hand perfectly. Don't get me wrong. I love the way the 226 feels in my hand, especially giving me that little bit of room to have my sport hand. Like, this just works. And I guess while I'm holding these, we should talk about, yes, these are empty, these are safe. Both of them I'll show you guys because I know we occasionally get comments, but everything we do on the channel here is safe. So just to get that out of the way, you also will see some B-roll. All that was taken at a range where everything was done safely. So there's no reason to have any sort of questions, comments, or concerns that anything in my videos is done unsafely. This is mainly for the YouTube reviewer, but just to let you guys know as well, because I have gotten some weird comments before. So I love how they both feel, but I have to say the PDP, it fits just a little bit better in my hand. Now, obviously that is subjective. Everyone may have a different opinion on that, but if you guys have seen other reviews and felt similar ways about how I feel with other guns, I think you'll understand that point. Now, as far as controls, I will say, again, I'm going to give this one to the PDP. Not only is it ambidextrous, where you could swap over the mag release, but it does have these really long slide release right here, which I didn't think I was going to like at first, but I really do. It kind of fits in the perfect spot for me. And I would imagine someone, if you shot wrong-handed, you would like that as well on the other side. The mag release is in the perfect spot. I don't have to break my grip. I can hit that perfectly. I really do like that about this gun. Now, the 226 isn't bad at that, but for me, I do have to break my grip if I want to use my right hand to release that mag. As far as the slide release, it is not ambidextrous, although the safety is. And I do know some people have told me something they don't like about the 226 is how hard it is to shoot left-handed. Obviously, if you train enough, you can definitely overcome that, but it's just something worth mentioning. So for this, I'm gonna give the slight edge to the PDP. And I do want to mention you could swap the mag on the 226 as well, the mag release. So if you wanted to, you could, but unfortunately the slide release is where it is and you're kind of stuck with it that way. Now, as far as triggers, and this is going to be the elephant in the room, right? Hands down, the PDP, this performance dynamic trigger, is the best trigger I've ever shot in a striker-fired gun, period. I've tested this, and with my gauge, it says it pulls about 5 pounds. I think it's advertised for about 4 or 4.5. And my gauge, which I will say, with the little fin in there, it makes it very hard to get that to pull where I would normally pull. But, because you got to push that down. When I'm shooting this, I've noticed with mechanical leverage, the lower you go, the easier to pull, right? So I tend to shoot right there. So nice, short, solid wall, break. Super short reset. I mean, that trigger is just, for a striker fire, that is a freaking great trigger. I will say, of all the striker fire guns I've shot, hands down, that has to be the best trigger I've ever used. Now, it's maybe ruined me a little bit because there's definitely a few striker fire guns I've considered getting recently, and when I think about going back to that trigger versus that, it kind of jades me a little bit. So if you've never shot a really good trigger and you don't want to chance that, don't try this trigger because it might ruin you. But if we're talking about really, really, really good triggers that are not 2011 triggers, I gotta say, this 226 in single action, oh my God, this trigger is incredible. Little bit of take up there, solid wall, and the break. Reset is maybe a hair longer, maybe. I mean, again, very, very little take up there. It's just solid, clean break. And yeah, I will say, this trigger, I think it's advertised at 3.5 pounds or 3 pounds. On my testing, I was getting sub 3 pounds. So obviously, you know, that's a sample size of 1 with the gauge I've been using, but I will say the trigger in this 226 is amazing. I mean, I can't say enough good things about this trigger. I don't want to say this is a bad trigger because it's not a bad trigger. But if you're comparing these two, the 226 to me definitely has a better trigger. Now, obviously, you're going to carry these differently, right? You're going to have to, you know, use a safety on this. This one's striker fire or not. I would not want a trigger that light without a safety, hands down. Not even going to argue that. So for me, if it's going to be striker fired, I wouldn't want to go any lighter than this. This is super, super good, and it works as a striker fire. I would not want to go lighter because I think at that point, it would be too light for me personally. But there is that. So next I want to talk about reliability. Obviously, again, sample size of myself. So far, both these guns, obviously I have more time on the 226 than the PDP, but they both ran flawlessly. I'm going to continue testing this and do further reviews, and if I run into any hiccups, I will let you guys know what ammo has given me issue, but so far, they both eat, guys. They are both reliable. I purposely bought this one because how good the reviews were on how reliable the PDPs are in general. That is definitely something that I value a whole heck of a lot, especially as a gun that is either going to be home defense or carry. I think reliability should be number one. So I do want to let you guys know they are a dead tie with that. They both run freaking great. As far as return to zero, they both return to zero very well. Definitely easy to get follow-up shots. They're definitely fun shooting. I can't say one has a better return to zero than the other. I think they're both great at that. I'll show you some slow-mo so you can kind of see that. But so far, they both have been great with that. Now, as far as recoil impulse, yes, the PDP has a slight more snap to it. And again, it's significantly lighter than this, so it's to be expected. I'm sure if this was a shorter barrel, it'd probably be even snappier. And I've heard some people in videos say that the PDPs are known to be snappy. I think it's perfectly manageable, at least in this setup right here. But it's something worth noting that this guy does have a little bit more snap to it. Also, not going to go into optics too much, but with this optic compared to this, which is, you know, slightly smaller, occasionally it will jump out of where you don't see the dot in the box. So, not that it's bad. totally usable, and obviously it's something I'm going to continue to train with and get better, but something I've noticed. One thing I do want to bring up in this is, and I've had people ask me this in reviews before. Now, doing a reload with the PDP here on a full mag, I notice about 90 to 95% of the time when I do that reload, this thing automatically sends the slide home and loads the bullet. Now, I know some people, they don't like that on guns. For me, personally, I either want it to do it every time or never. I don't like not knowing if it's going to do it. That's where I get concerned. This thing is pretty consistent about sending that slide home, so I know once I do that reload, I'm pretty much ready to go. The 226, on the other hand, almost never does that. I don't know if I even really recall it doing that, to be completely honest with you. I've always had to use the slide release here, and again, I'm not going to say either one is better or worse in that category because they're consistent with what they do. If one of them did it 50% of the time, I'd probably ding that, but considering they are consistent with the way they run, I'm not going to say it's a negative, but I think it's worth hearing, especially potentially someone who might be looking at these to buy. So something to keep in mind. Now, I will also add, because these are both out of the box, literally all I did, they came with the optics. I literally threw a light on. So I didn't modify these at all. They're exactly how they came from the factory. The one bonus I do want to say, the PDP Pro, it comes with a magwell, which I've never had a magwell before, but I think that is clutch. It definitely can be a hindrance if you're carrying in certain bags. I've noticed that with my smaller bag from Save Your Equipment. That magwell got caught in the zipper, but as far as reloads, I think a magwell is great. Honestly, because of using this, it's something I'm going to start looking for in future guns. So I think that's worth noting. You can't get one, to my knowledge, on the 226. Maybe there's an aftermarket company. If you guys know of a company that does it, let me know. I think that would look pretty cool. But I think that about covers everything that I had written down for you guys. If there's something specific that you want to know about, please let me know. Drop it in the comments, and I will definitely get those details to you as quick as I see it. But if you guys appreciate this kind of content, please do me a favor, like this video, and if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. Obviously, the 2A community needs as much support and growth as possible because big tech is always trying to shrink us down. So I'd really appreciate if you guys show that love and support back. So I think that's everything I got for you guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in. New videos every week. And again, if you have any questions or comments, ask me and I'll get back to you. Peace.